for the adoption process to go through and ultimately the 4-year-old end up here in the United States. It's called the Biden program, and supposedly it's a sped up adoption. So the child's born to a mother who doesn't want it. We have no idea who that mother is. The sister of our suspect is in the process of getting the child for her sister, who is Patricia St. Azaire. Patricia's 36 years of age. She's already got a 16-year-old son that she has adopted from Haiti. The 4-year-old comes here as a 3-year-old, only a year ago. And what we've learned during this investigation just turns our stomach. We have a video clip of where that 3-year-old baby's hands was tied behind his back, and she threw him in a swimming pool in the backyard. We received on May 1st a call. May 1st, the child went to the hospital. So why did the child go to the hospital? Heart of Florida and Haines City, but they live in Davenport. The little fella got off of the bus. He was happy. Everything seemed to be all right. The 16-year-old noticed he was happy. They were home. Patricia, the 16-year-old, and now the little dead fella who's 4. The 16-year-old notices later on that he's lethargic, that he's not responding. Patricia says he's faking it. Give him something to eat. He can't eat. He goes unconscious. The 16-year-old has been saying he needs to go to the hospital. He needs to go to the hospital. He needs to go to the hospital. Heart of Florida thinks he has a significant issue, sends him to Orlando Health. Orlando Health tries to work with him, and ultimately he dies. He goes to the medical examiner's office, and that's when we get involved a couple of days later. We find injuries where this child has been beaten. In addition to the video we found in the investigation of his hands tied behind him and thrown into the pool. We found an injury where his spleen suffered a significant tear. The medical examiner said it could have been nothing else other than an immediate hard strike to the abdomen. And as the autopsy went on, they found different layers of bruises and injuries from past beatings. And he's dead. He's dead because she beat him to death. We don't know, obviously, how he got out of the pool after he was thrown in there with his hands tied behind his back. We have a video of that. We're going to show it to you at the end of this news release. She's charged with murder, aggravated child abuse. The investigation's still underway. Her husband was clearly at work at the time this event occurred. She was the disciplinarian. He was a student at Laufman Oaks, and despite his abusive treatment, they said he was a happy child. And this never should have happened. Ladies and gentlemen, it is beyond my wildest imagination how anyone could abuse a beautiful little fella like this child was abused and neglected. But the investigation is still ongoing. We don't believe we know all that this child suffered. We have another video clip where he's face down on the floor and she's beating him in the back. And he's not even resisting it. It's just like it's a normal occurrence. You know, the positive, if you search for a positive, is that he's in the arms of God right now, and he's no longer being beaten. He's no longer being punched. He's no longer being tied up and thrown in the swimming pool. That now he's, as our Christian belief, that he's living the life there where he's surrounded by love and things are great, like he should have been surrounded by love and things should have been great here on earth for him. So every day when you see these little guys and gals that are on their way to school, understand that there's a small percentage of them that are being neglected and abused, and we need to know about that immediately. And when you go home tonight, hug your children a little tighter. Give them an extra kiss when you put them to bed. And thank God that you have those children, and they are miracles, and that you have the opportunity to show them the right way, to raise them the right way, to teach them the right way, and then understand that we need to say prayers for these children that we have yet discovered. It would have been great if we could have found this child and rescued him before he was beaten to death. The 16-year-old is in protective custody at this time. He is obviously no longer at the home. Are there any questions?
Have there been any DCF calls or anything to this house? Anything that makes you go?
That's still under investigation. I don't know if there were other DCF calls there or not, but our team, our homicide team, is simply the very best. These cases are difficult to work. Our victims deceased, we've got to work on timelines and time frames of injuries and types of injuries. And this was a very complicated case for them to work, and they're still gathering details and evidence.
How about with the school sheriff? When your investigators spoke with school officials, had they seen any warning signs? Is that on their radar at all?
I don't know if we've had a chance to circle around with the school officials yet to see if they've seen or heard anything, because we have been intensely investigating the instant event. That will be on part of the investigative protocol. But as you know, we release information as soon as it's reasonable so that you know what we know. And some of that investigation happens in the later stages of the investigation.
These videos, were they on the suspect's phone or who?
They were on the suspect's phone.
And the 16-year-old, was the 16-year-old abused or?
At this point in time, he looks fine. He was coached to lie to us when we first talked to him. After we got Patricia in jail and away from him, he then told us, hey, I was told to lie to you, so that will be part of the subsequent investigation, but there's no obvious instant injuries, but certainly that will be part of the follow-up investigation.
Do you think that Patricia could be facing more charges than the ones that are listed here?
Well, we've loaded her up with all of the charges that we know about right now, but certainly depending on what the rest of the investigation tells us, that you can be sure that my detectives will file every criminal charge possible, depending on where the rest of the investigation leads us.
So was her husband never around when this abuse took place?
Apparently not. You know, once again, those are the layers of the onion. We're not completely through yet, but at least when this injury that caused the death occurred, based upon the severeness of the injury and how bad that the child would have regressed from the injury, he was clearly not there. Now, follow-up investigation will help determine what he knew, when he knew it, if he knew it. But if you can believe this, they've lawyered up. So when you lawyer up, because we're investigating injuries to your child and you won't cooperate with us, that's a clue.
Sheriff, did she express remorse or explain her behavior to you?
Oh, no, she didn't.
Sheriff, is there any more you can tell us about her personal or professional life? There's something on social media that could indicate she maybe worked in childcare?
No, she worked for ABC Liquors in the corporate office, I'm told, over in Orlando. She lived in Davenport.
Do you know how long she lived in the States?
I don't know. But it's shocking. It's absolutely shocking. But I can assure you of this, that if you hear something or see something or believe something or think something about a child being neglected or abused, if you call us, I can assure you that we'll completely and thoroughly investigate it with DCF. Because our number one goal in this organization is to protect the children. And that's why we go after child predators. That's why we go after pornographers. That's why we go after child abusers. And we certainly go after child murderers. Okay? And they'll make sure you have the clips and what you do with them. Or we're going to show them up here, or are you just going to give them to them? Both. Do you have the one, which one are we showing first? Okay, this is where he's beaten in the bed. That's not a corporal punishment spanking, that's a beating.